Welcome back to the studio and welcome to another episode of Sketch Endeavor. We're going to be going through some loose drawings in this video, and I've been so inspired by some references that I shot at the Lawrence Rodeo. These photographs were taken some years ago, and I haven't actually gotten into the file until recently. And so one day I decided that as part of my daily sketch routine, I would just start busting out some really loose pencil sketches of riders on horses, lassoing steers, bucking broncos, and all of these very energetic, active type scenarios. Now, because I always get comments on this type of subject, let me just make this clear. I'm coming at this from an artistic standpoint. I'm interested in the animal anatomy. I'm interested in the energy and the movement in some of these drawings. And there's a lot of stuff going on here that I find inspiring as an artist. But I'm in no way condemning or condoning anything to do with rodeos. That's not where I'm coming from. And furthermore, for the people that might have issues with a subject like this, is there anything that you're not allowed to draw or paint? I don't know. Maybe I missed the memo, but I thought artists were meant to explore stuff. It seems that many people have hang-ups about all kinds of things these days, but this is me, and this is my opportunity to not only explore a subject that I haven't really gotten into in the past, but it's an opportunity for me to loosen up. And that's really what I want to talk to you about in this episode, is not only loosening up and really going for it, but how do you build momentum and keep the momentum? Now, you might know that personally, my sketch endeavor journey, the daily habit of drawing, hasn't quite worked out to be a daily habit. I've been pretty consistent this year. I'm pretty pleased with how it's going this year, but in the past it's been fits and starts. But in order for this to really have the benefit that we need it to have, our daily sketch journey, we need to show up on a consistent basis and build that momentum. How do you do that? Well, I think the first step is just making a decision. We need to decide that we're going to do this, and we need to figure out why it's important that we do this. Now, allow me to just make the case for drawing. If you're watching this video, you're probably well into it already. You love drawing. Otherwise, why would you click on this video? But why is drawing so important? Well, if you're familiar with my work and what I do primarily, I'm an oil painter. I love landscapes, I love portraits, I love all kinds of things. I love to paint a wide range of subjects. But in order to paint well, you got to be able to draw well. But something interesting happened. I wasn't committing the time in the sketchbook. I wasn't drawing. In fact, there's some times in my career where I would probably have gone over a year before picking up a pencil and doing any serious drawing. I might do a few rudimentary thumbnails, but that wasn't really drawing. That was compositional design. That was a layup. But in order for me to be able to break through to another level and really explore what I was capable of at the easel, I needed to be able to draw. And because I didn't put in the time, I couldn't demonstrate that. And so my paintings weren't reaching their full potential. Now, just on an aside, I don't think my paintings have reached their full potential yet. I don't even know what that is for me, and I hope to never find out. When you're green, you grow. When you're ripe, you rot. I hope to never arrive at a final destination with my own artwork. I always want to be learning something new. And that's why I love painting a wide range of subjects. But first, I needed to decide, okay, this is important. My paintings aren't reaching the level they could because I haven't put in this time. So how could I put in this time? I recognize the importance of it. So the next thing I needed to do, after making that decision that this was important and it was something I was going to do, I then just needed to show up. Now, there's a few ways, if you're struggling with finding the time to do this daily, there's a few ways, a few tricks I got to share with you here in this video for how to do that and how to show up consistently. But step number one is just deciding. So make the decision right now. I'm going to do this. Now, before we go too much further, you might be wondering what I'm drawing with. I'm going to post some links in the description down below and also a little bit of a materials list. So if you got any questions about the materials that I use for my drawing or my painting, you can always find those in the description below. So check that out. So we've made our decision. We know we're going to draw. We know it's important to draw. So now how do we show up every day? Well, you just start with the first day. Set yourself a target. Set yourself a goal. Make it achievable. Don't say, tomorrow I'm going to draw for 6 hours. And put so much effort in that you end up just completely burning out, or you get so overwhelmed that you don't show up at all. Make it a small, achievable little thing you can do, like 10 minutes. 10 minutes is all you need. And then say, you know what? I showed up. I drew for 10 minutes. You know, I got a busy schedule. I got to work. I got to do this. I got to take the kids here. I got to do that. I got to clean the kitchen, whatever. But you know what? I got 10 minutes in. That's cool. That's cool. Now do that for a week. Show up just 10 minutes a day for an entire week. And then suddenly, if you're doing that for 6 days, well, you got an hour. If you do that all 7 days, well, hey, now you're starting to accumulate some time. And then can you push that out to half an hour? Try that. I guarantee one thing, if you show up and you really show up and you really try, you'll end up building momentum, and this will end up sticking. Now, the sweet spot for me is 2 hours. I love to get that 2 hours a day in, 6 days a week. I take one day off. But in order to build that momentum, we need to start off with something small and manageable. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I'm a bit of an action guy. I love to apply massive action and really go for it. But that can be overwhelming for a lot of folks. And I wasn't always like this. I had to start small and build from there.
Hey, let me ask you something. Are you wanting to level up your art and take things as far as you possibly can in 2023? If so, I have got so much to talk to you about. Right now on my online academy, I've got an extended version of the video you're watching right now. Plus, I've got loads of tutorials to share with you where we dive deep into the technical aspects of oil painting, and I share with you a wide range of different projects. I upload royalty and copyright-free reference material. I also do critique videos of your paintings. But not only that, we also dive deep into the business aspect of being a professional artist. I've been at this for nearly 20 years, and I've learned a couple of things in that time, and I really want to share with you these insights to give you the best start if you're going to forge a path as a professional. So if you want to take your art even further than you thought possible, then click that link in the description down below. My mission is to help you become the artist you're meant to be. All right, my friend, thank you so much. Let's get back to the video.
Now, in the long version of this video, I was talking about this concept of the flywheel. Now, I'm no expert on mechanics or engineering, and I'm not a full bottle on science or even psychology. There's a lot of stuff that I don't. You could fill libraries with what I don't know. But I recently borrowed this tree mulcher from a neighbor because I had to do some landscaping work in my house. And as I was looking at this thing, I just suddenly twigged on something that was so fascinating. Inside of this mechanism, this mulcher, is a big, heavy flywheel and a tiny little motor that drives it. In order to get that flywheel to move, for the action to take place, to be able to do its job, a little bit of force needs to be applied to this cog that sits in the center of that flywheel. If the motor tries to apply so much force and so much action to that flywheel, which is this big, heavy wheel, if it tries to go all out and reach top speed immediately, there might end up with a system failure. It can't even do it in the first place. But it just doesn't quite work. What happens in order for that to work is a little bit of action is applied, just a tiny little bit of force, some torque, just a bit. And then once that wheel starts moving, then a little more and a little more and a little more force is applied gradually until such a point as that flywheel is now spinning at such a rapid clip that the blades that are mounted onto that wheel can start to eat trees. The thing is it can't do it all at once. It has to start slowly and then build up to that speed. But here's a really cool thing about momentum. You see, once an object like a flywheel is in motion, it takes an enormous amount of force to stop it moving. Well, we're the same. Once we get moving, because we've decided that something is important, it's a must for us, now suddenly it takes an enormous amount of effort to stop. Once we make this a daily habit, once we turn it into a non-negotiable, and once we've been showing up consistently, now you've got momentum. And this is something that I found. Now, look, of course, the odd thing might come up and I might skip a day here and there. But that desire to keep it up is now within me. And now if I didn't show up for whatever reason, maybe something came up, maybe I had an appointment, maybe it just didn't happen that day for whatever reason, that motion still feels like it's within me, that momentum, and I have this desire to just get back on the horse, pun intended. Now, let me talk to you just a little bit more about what you're seeing unfold here in the sketchbook. I decided that this week of sketch endeavor, I was going to show up every day and just knock out a loose little sketch of some horses in motion from my reference material and explore this as an idea for maybe a painting, but also just to loosen up in the sketchbook. I needed to turn loose of the idea that these needed to be perfect drawings. And I also wasn't afraid to fall flat on my face in front of people on social media. These were part of a live stream that I did on Instagram. And after I posted these drawings, I actually received comments and messages and some private DMs from people that wanted to reach out. They didn't want to embarrass me, but they were like, Andrew, your anatomy's a little off there. It doesn't quite look right. The ratio of the rider to the horse is a little off. It doesn't quite have it. And you know what? They're totally right. I didn't take this personally at all. I knew that I didn't understand this subject yet. But how do you build that understanding? Well, you got to start by doing it. And so part of this momentum, part of showing up every day, was to be okay with not being a full bottle on the subject, to be okay exploring this. And I like to just put this out there to you and share this with you. I don't need to be perfect here in this space with you. That's not what this is about. This is about us showing up and getting it done, right? So if I was overly concerned with this desire to be perfect, I never would have turned up in the first place. And I think that's key. So here I'm just letting go. I'm loosening it up, But I know one thing's for sure. With that momentum, this will get better and better and better. All I'm looking for is a little improvement. So as I go through, I'm starting to notice this general trend with my drawings. I start off sketching pretty loose. I'm starting to work out a pattern, some sort of system, some sort of framework that I can build these horses from. I'm starting to recognize some things that I'm noticing about the tension in the animals across the muscles, the way the rider actually interacts with the horse, the way they form one unit as they're in motion. I'm starting to pick up on these little things, and my technique is adapting, evolving. I'm starting to work out, I like the way this pencil works. I don't like that one. Okay, I'm going to change up my approach a little bit. So I started with that Palomino Blackwing in the sketchbook. I then went to a smudge stick, and now I'm using a Progresso side on to knock in some of those darker tones to get maybe more of a full range of tones across some of these loose sketches. But all the while that I've got this momentum going, that I've been showing up daily, I'm doing something else. And this is key. It's called deliberate practice. Now, deliberate practice is anytime you're engaged in anything where you're practicing a skill, you push yourself to the edge of your ability, to the edge of your understanding, and you stay in that sweet spot. Now, if you're comfortable with something, if you can do something, if you know how to do something, if you've got that in the bag, well, there's no growth there. But if you're pushing it to the edge of your understanding, if it's slightly uncomfortable, what tends to happen is your brain starts to search for the solution to problems that come up, and it's almost instantaneous. You start to get that flywheel effect with skill building. Now, that concept I learned from Cal Newport's book called So Good They Can't Ignore You. Highly recommend that. I love listening to audio material while I'm drawing and painting. I think it's essential for us artists to craft a mindset that serves us. And there's so many different books that have been written about these subjects, but also just on business, things that we can learn to apply to our art journey that will help propel us even further forward. And so, what have we talked about here in this video? Well, first and foremost, I made a huge mistake. The mistake I made was not deciding that this was important. But I've decided that now. I finally get it. I gotta show up every day. I gotta draw. Once I made that decision, I started putting in the time. I applied a little action and I built on it. And then that flywheel now was in motion. And once it's in motion, it's hard to stop. And I continually stay at that coalface, at that boundary of what's uncomfortable. And that way I'm engaged in deliberate practice. I truly believe this is how we get better at art. Thank you so much for spending this time with me here in the studio. I hope you've enjoyed the video. As always, make sure you subscribe. Leave me a comment down below. I'll see you in the next one.